Alan Jackson's story is one of those truly remarkable journeys that blend fate, talent, and sheer determination in equal measure. Imagine a tall, soft-spoken Southern boy with a warm grin and a passion for strumming honest, down-to-earth country tunes. He wasn't exactly born into star status, he had to work for it. Yet somehow, through a winding road of serendipitous moments and unwavering resolve, he ended up defining a large swath of modern country music. To appreciate how extraordinary that path was, we need to delve into the little details that transformed him from an ordinary kid in rural Georgia to a Hall of Fame artist beloved around the world. Alan Eugene Jackson came into this world on October 17, 1958, in Noonan, Georgia. Growing up, he was the kind of kid who liked to keep it simple, listening to gospel in church, fooling around in the yard, hanging out with friends, just typical small-town living. There was always this sense that he was tethered to something down home, a sort of old-school pride in tradition. Maybe that's why his music later resonated so deeply with millions. It's honest, heartfelt, and unapologetically country. In December 1979, an important moment came that had nothing to do with record deals or chart positions. Alan married his high school sweetheart, Denise Jackson, on December 15th of that year. While the idea of high school sweethearts tying the knot might seem like a page ripped from a country song, it's part of what makes Alan's life so relatable. There's a folksy romance in that narrative. Two teenagers, probably strolling down the halls hand in hand, eventually deciding they're meant to build a life together. It's a detail that's especially telling because when he found his way to success, he wasn't a lone wolf figuring out the industry on his own. He had Denise's support, her belief in him, right from the get-go. Things, of course, didn't change overnight. In the mid-1980s, Alan wasn't headlining massive stadium tours or appearing on the Grand Ole Opry stage. He was a regular working Joe with a rather humble gig, sorting mail in the mailroom at the Nashville network, TNN, in Tennessee. As modest as it was, the job exposed him to the bustling heartbeat of country television and music broadcasting. Day after day, he'd be in an environment swirling with industry chatter, seeing the ins and outs of how country music found its way onto people's TV screens. Sometimes, he'd even be part of the audience for TNN's show, You Can Be a Star, soaking up the atmosphere. One day in 1986, a moment arrived that underscores how fortune can change in the blink of an eye. During a commercial break, someone unexpectedly asked Alan to sing a cover of George Jones's classic, He Stopped Loving Her Today. Most newcomers would kill for an on-the-spot chance like that, even if it was just during a lull in the filming. And wouldn't you know it, that impromptu performance caught the ear of Keith Stegall, the singer-songwriter who would go on to produce 19 of Alan's studio albums. Imagine Keith in the crowd, maybe half distracted, suddenly perking up when he heard this as yet unknown singer pour his heart into one of the most iconic country ballads ever written. You can practically feel the electricity of that moment. Around this same time, Denise was working as a flight attendant, and in another of those right place, right time stories, she happened to meet country legend Glen Campbell on one of her flights. Seizing the moment, Denise asked for career advice on behalf of her husband, explaining how Alan aspired to break into the country music business. Glen Campbell, famously good-natured, handed her the business card of his manager. It was a small gesture on Glen's part, but for Alan it turned into a lifeline, another piece in the puzzle that would soon lead him to a real shot in the industry. By 1989, all the behind-the-scenes work, chance encounters, and unwavering dedication had paid off. Alan signed with Arista Records. Not only was this a big break, but he also held the distinction of being the first artist on the newly formed Arista Nashville branch. Every singer dreams of a record contract, especially one with a major label. When Arista released his debut single, Blue-Blooded Woman, it fizzled and didn't even crack the top 40. That could be discouraging, but in the grand tapestry of Alan's career, it was just an early challenge. Because not long after, in early 1990, his next single, Here, in the Real World, soared to number 1, 3 on the country charts, and became the title track of his debut album. That success likely felt like validation. Alan's brand of straight-ahead country music had a real shot at mainstream appeal. In 1991, Alan was rolling forward. His sophomore album, Don't Rock the Jukebox, became something of a classic. It featured 4 songs that shot to number 1. 1, the title track itself, Someday, Dallas, and Love's Got a Hold on You. He also scored a number 3 hit with Midnight in Montgomery, a haunting tribute to the spirit of Hank Williams. As if that weren't enough, around that time, Alan co-wrote several songs for Randy Travis's 1991 album High Lonesome. There he was, straddling 2 roles, a bona fide rising star and a sought-after songwriter. To have your songs recorded by Randy Travis, one of the quintessential voices of neo-traditional country, was further proof that Alan's approach to music was turning heads in Nashville. The next couple of years saw him ramp up even more. His third album, A Lot About Livin' and A Little About Love, hit shelves in 1992. It delivered 2 more chart toppers, She's Got the Rhythm and I Got the Blues, co-written with Randy Travis once again, and the famous Chattahoochee. That latter track, an ode to life by the river in rural Georgia, became an anthem that practically defined summertime in the South and beyond. Picture those hot days on a boat, a cooler of cold drinks, good friends. Chattahoochee captured that spirit perfectly. It went on to win the 1994 Country Music Association CMA Awards for both Single and Song of the Year, further cementing Alan's position as a defining voice of the era. It's easy to forget that behind the scenes, Alan and Denise were navigating a growing career, raising a family, and making tough decisions about management and direction. In 1994, he parted ways with 1010 Management, which had overseen his career up to that point, and switched to Gary Overton. That same year, his 4th album, Who I Am, dropped like a bomb. It featured 4 numbers, 1 hits, Summertime Blues, yes, that's an Eddie Cochran cover, Livin' on Love, Gone Country, and I Don't Even Know Your Name. Another track, Song for the Life, a Rodney Crowell cover, made it to number 6. And as a side note, around late 1994, Clay Walker topped the charts with If I Could Make a Living, which Alan also happened to co-write. It seemed as though anything Alan's pen touched was destined to resonate with country fans, whether he was the vocalist or not. By 1995 and 1996, Alan had enough hit songs to justify the Greatest Hits collection, a compilation of 17 hits plus 2 fresh recordings, I'll Try and Tall, Tall Trees, plus Home, which hadn't been released as a single before. Both of those new tracks soared to number 1. It was a golden era for Alan Jackson, the kind of streak that most artists can only dream about. In 1996, he released Everything I Love, an album that continued to keep him in the limelight. The first single, Little Bitty, was written by the legendary Tom T. Hall and shot to number 1. Yet again. He followed it up with There Goes, another chart topper, and a version of Charlie McClain's Who's Cheatin' Who, which peaked at number 2. The 5th single, A House with No Curtains, made it to number 18, a dip by his lofty standards, but still a respectable run. By 1998, with the release of High Mileage, Alan was pivoting a bit. The lead single, I'll Go On Loving You, only hit number 4-only being a relative term, of course. The follow-up, Right on the Money, which Phil Vassar and Charlie Black had co-written, was pure Jackson magic, going straight to number 1. It showed how he was walking that fine line between sticking to traditional country roots and carefully embracing new influences. The late 90s were a tricky time for country artists because, pop and rock elements were creeping in heavily. But Alan always found a way to stay relevant without forsaking the neo-traditional flavor that first got people listening to him. In 1999, he released Under the Influence, an album of covers, essentially a love letter to the classics that had shaped him. It was a bold move in the sense that the industry had largely shifted toward more pop rock sensibilities. Yet here came Alan, stubbornly and admirably, bucking the trend and maintaining a traditional sound. The same year, an incident occurred that vividly demonstrated his deep respect for country music's heritage. At the 1999 CMA Awards, George Jones had been told to trim his song choices for broadcast, and he declined, choosing to boycott the event. Alan, as a show of solidarity, interrupted his own scheduled performance, sang part of Choices, and then walked off stage. Country fans watching at home or in the arena saw that Alan wasn't just an entertainer, but a guardian of the music's integrity, someone who would stand up for legends like George Jones, even if it ruffled industry feathers. Then came 2000 and 2001, a period when Alan joined with George Strait to sing Murder on Music Row, a track that openly criticized the shift away from genuine country in favor of pop-gloss tunes. Even though it wasn't released as a single, the song charted anyway and delivered a strong message to the industry. They even opened the 2000 Academy of Country Music Awards with it, a bold statement broadcast to millions. Tragedy struck the nation on September 11th, 2001, and like many artists, Alan responded in the only way he knew, through music. He released Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning, a tribute to the victims and a reflection on national grief. It was a solemn, reflective piece that resonated profoundly with listeners, becoming one of those rare tracks that transcend charts. In 2002, he folded it into his album Drive, ensuring that moment in American history was documented in his discography. Speaking of 2002, Drive also included a studio version of Where Were You, in addition to the live CMA Awards performance. And while he was in that reflective, heartfelt mode, he recorded and released his second Christmas album, Let It Be Christmas, in October 2002. There's something inherently warm about a Christmas record by someone whose voice is as comforting as Alan's. It's like sitting by the fire with a cup of cocoa, hearing a beloved uncle strum a guitar and sing about the holidays. Jeannie Kendall invited Alan to record Timeless and True Love as a duet on her debut solo album in 2003, a nod to how other artists wanted to collaborate with him because of his gentle, authentic style. Then in 2006, Alan ventured into a gospel project, Precious Memories, recording it initially as a gift to his mother. The album became a surprise smash, selling over 1.8 million copies, a staggering figure for a side project. Yet it only proved what fans had known all along. If Alan Jackson is singing it, people are going to tune in. Later that year, he released Like Red on a Rose, produced by Alison Krauss, which veered into a softer rock adult contemporary vibe. Critics applauded this new direction and praised the collaboration, but it stirred up a bit of controversy among purists who missed the neo-traditional flavor. Even so, it demonstrated Alan's willingness to stretch, to test boundaries without forgetting who he was. In the year of 2008, he was back to basics with Good Time, released on March 4th. It was Alan stepping back into the comfort zone of radio-friendly, fiddle-tinged hits that still spoke to the heart. Singles like Small Town Southern Man and Country Boy jumped out immediately. Then there was Good Time, an upbeat feel-good track, and Sissy's Song, a poignant piece dedicated to a close friend of the Jackson family who tragically died in a motorcycle accident. He even squeezed in a playful nod to modern living with I Still Like Bologna, which references staying true to simple tastes in a fast-paced world. That same tension between old and new, tradition and progress, runs throughout his discography, defining him as an artist unafraid to shift focus, but always mindful of where he came from. Freight Train arrived in 2010, led by It's Just That Way, which debuted modestly at number 50 in January of that year. He followed it with Hard Hat and a Hammer, another working man's anthem that fit right into the Alan Jackson repertoire. In November of that same year, he released 34 number ones, a testament to just how many times he'd raced to the top of the charts. The compilation included a cover of Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire, as well as She's Walking Away, a duet with the Zac Brown Band. As 2011 rolled in, big changes were afoot. Sony Music Nashville announced that Alan was leaving Arista Nashville. He'd been with them since the beginning, so this was a major shift. By March 2011, he found a new home at Capitol's EMI Records Nashville, showing once again that Alan's career was a fluid journey, evolving with the times but never losing its core identity. Then came 2012 and 30 Miles West, an album that included singles like Long Way to Go, So You Don't Have to Love Me Anymore, and You Go Your Way. None of them cracked the top 20, a sign that radio trends were shifting toward younger acts with more pop-driven sounds. But Alan had never been a flash-in-the-pan radio star. His fan base was devoted. They'd follow him regardless of airplay, showing up at concerts and snatching up the albums, because they wanted that timeless, straightforward, heartfelt country style. In 2013, he released Precious Memories Volume 2, following up on the success of his first gospel project. The same year, he dipped into another deeply American genre with the Bluegrass album, featuring singles like Blue Ridge Mountain Song and Blacktop. This project soared to number 1 on Billboard's Top Bluegrass Albums chart and number 3 on the Country Albums chart, proving again that his fans were more than happy to see him embrace different shades of roots music. And it underscored something else. Alan was never just a mainstream country star. He was a genuine musician, steeped in all the classic sounds that shaped America's musical heritage. In 2014, a fun new milestone, Alan co-wrote A Million Ways to Die, the opening credits song for Seth MacFarlane's film A Million Ways to Die in the West. It was a testament to his cultural crossover appeal. Also that year, the Country Music Hall of Fame honored him with an exhibit celebrating the 25-year run of his career. He served as their artist in residence, performing in October with a set of intimate shows that let fans see a living legend in a smaller scale environment. It was a perfect acknowledgement of how integral he'd become to the genre's history. A year later, in 2015, Alan embarked on his Keepin' It Country tour to celebrate his quarter century in the business. Starting on January 8th in Estero, Florida, the tour let longtime fans relive old favorites and gave newer fans a chance to see the man behind the hits up close. In July 2015, he dropped his 20th studio album, Angels and Alcohol, continuing a career that seemed unstoppable. By 2016 to 2017, Alan found new ways to remind the world of country's roots. He was one of 30 artists featured on Forever Country, a star-studded mashup of Take Me Home, Country Roads, On the Road Again, and I Will Always Love You, all to commemorate 50 years of the CMA Awards. He also kept that Keepin' It Country tour rolling along, bringing American Idol alumna Lauren Alaina out on the road. Then there was Genuine, the Alan Jackson story, a box set of 59 tracks, including 8 previously unreleased ones, released by Legacy Recordings and dedicated to Merle Haggard's memory. This gesture showed Alan's commitment to honoring those who paved the way for him. In October 2017, he teased the future with a new single, The Older I Get, letting fans know he was still writing chapters in his musical biography. Of course, time catches up with everyone, no matter how famous or seemingly untouchable. In 2021, Alan released Where Have You Gone?, an album that sounded like a heartfelt plea to preserve the style of country music he fell in love with. He voiced concerns that the genre, as he once knew it, was vanishing, replaced by flashier, pop-leaning fare. Some longtime fans echoed that sentiment, grateful that he continued championing steel guitars, fiddles, and stories about real life. Around that time, he appeared on the Today Show and revealed that he'd been living for years with Charcot-Marie-Tooth CMT disease, which affects his balance and comfort on stage. It was a reminder of his humanity. This tall, strong presence, always in a cowboy hat, was quietly battling a chronic condition. Yet there he was, still performing, still pouring his heart out in every song. His personal life, meanwhile, was always interwoven with his musical milestones. Alan and Denise welcomed 3 daughters over the years: Maddie Denise, born June 19, 1990, Alexandra Jane Ali, born August 23, 1993, and Danny Grace, born August 28, 2007, 1997. Raising 3 girls while also juggling a music career full of tours and album deadlines must have been daunting, but the Jacksons seemed to handle it as gracefully as possible. That's not to say their marriage was without rough patches. During 1998, they went through a brief separation. The media at the time whispered about it. Fans worried, and tabloids probably salivated at the prospect of drama. But they eventually reconciled, coming out of that trial seemingly stronger than before. In 2007, Denise published a book titled It's All About Him, Finding the Love of My Life, which soared to the top of the New York Times bestseller list. It was yet another testament to the shared faith, resilience, and deep connection that bound them. By December 2022, the Jackson family embarked on a new chapter, grandparenthood. Their daughter Allie and her husband, Sam Bradshaw, welcomed their first child, a son. You can almost see Alan's proud, beaming smile at the news. Another generation of the Jackson name, another piece of the family legacy that began with a humble wedding back in 1979. Through it all, chart-topping triumphs, industry shifts, personal tribulations, and even battles with health, Alan Jackson has remained a beacon of authenticity. Whether he's covering an old country standard or singing about a heartbreak, there's an uncomplicated directness in his voice, a sincerity that can't be faked. Perhaps that's why, despite the constant whirl of new faces and changing tastes in country music, Alan's loyal fan base never left him. He was the soundtrack to their lives. First dances at weddings, heartbreak songs during breakups, nostalgic anthems for hometown cookouts, and comfort for a grieving nation after 9/11. If you're ever flipping through the radio and hear Chattahoochee or Gone Country or any one of those timeless hits, pause for a moment. Let yourself think about the dusty mailroom at TNN, the starstruck flight attendant, the legendary performer Glenn Campbell handing over a business card. Think about an unassuming young man who got called up to sing during a commercial break and belted out, "He stopped loving her today," so sincerely that he caught the ear of a key industry figure. And remember the countless hours he spent writing songs, playing shows, signing autographs, and staying true to a sound that resonated with people hungry for authenticity. In an ever-shifting landscape, Alan Jackson remains that reassuring voice. He's not just an entertainer, he's become an institution unto himself, a living bridge connecting countries past to its future. And as long as there are fans who believe in fiddles, steel guitars, and honest storytelling, Alan Jackson's music and the spirit behind it will never truly fade away.